Ooh, what's happening, man? Uh, I started talking about random shit earlier today, January 1st, 2024. Goddamn. I'm gonna keep doing that. If you've even watched one of my videos before, you know my shit is all over the place. My brain travels in multiple directions at the same time. So I don't, most of the time, I'm not really trying to wrangle that shit. I just try to follow the most prominent train of thought. I do try a little bit to not give a direct representation of what my brain is doing because that would make zero sense to anybody. Which may still be what's happening. Who fucking knows? But I'm gonna try to, stay on some kind of linear situation. But I opened Instagram and just saw a couple things that I want to talk about. I mean, they're kind of in a all encompassing overthought, but still. Um, I'm just gonna go into that. Actually, one of them wasn't on Instagram; is on YouTube. I went from listening to Jay Dreamer's breakdown, The Langoliers, which is I believe a Stephen King story that they made into a miniseries on TV when I was much younger, like a kid. I think he might be younger than me because he said it like he had seen a picture of the Langoliers before watching it, which is why he didn't watch it. Which that wasn't really possible when it came out. When it came out, I don't know. Maybe he had like even on the internet, they weren't sharing pictures of screenshots and shit like that. So I don't know how he saw that, but The Langoliers is a cool fucking movie, and his breakdown of I'm gonna call it symbolism because I don't he's kind of asserting that the miniseries itself is a representation of the plasma apocalypse. And while I agree that a lot of the symbolism and even the way that the shit is written really does point to a plasma apocalypse, the story itself, they tell you what the Langoliers are. If you haven't watched it and you want to watch it, because it is really good, especially for how fucking old it is. I don't really like old movies most of the time because they become outdated very fast. If you want to watch it, don't listen right for like 10 seconds. They eat yesterday. The Langoliers eat yesterday. So it explains a lot of the details of the miniseries by the disclosure at the end, or at some point towards the end, that they eat yesterday, which I always thought was cool. I thought that was interesting. Younger me didn't really get that as much. And time, I don't believe in time the way that it's commonly described or believed in. But that concept wasn't as convoluted to me as time itself is. Time itself is a convoluted theory to me, and in my opinion, it's just an agreement amongst all the beings on this realm. I don't like when beings say they don't believe in time. Most of those beings go on to say that everything is happening simultaneously. That makes fucking zero sense to me. I've asked this before. If you watch this and you understand and can explain what that means or how that's possible in a way that kind of like proves it in a way, please reach out to me, because I would really like to understand what they mean when they say that. It doesn't make any sense to me. So anyway, I'm leaving YouTube, watching Jay Dreamer's real cool breakdown, and I'll just say breakdown of that. And I see a short of someone filming a black helicopter, and it's a surveillance helicopter. And it made me kind of wonder, like, you know, all of this shit that's happening right now has multiple uses. They're tools that have multiple uses. And these things leave me wondering a lot of the time, like, do beings realize that? Like, or do they focus in on the one that resonates the most with them, that applies the most to them, and then not think about or pay attention to the other reasons that those things are being done or perpetuated or whatever? Because the way my mind works, like, if there is, I'm just like anybody else. There is something that resonates with me most, but I'm usually not, like, satisfied with that. Because truth, absolute truth, is like one of the most important things to me. And if something doesn't prove itself to be the absolute truth, then I haven't concluded. Like, I haven't finished looking for said truth. So the fact that you know, beings are looking up and seeing black helicopters, unmarked black helicopters, usually with some kind of surveillance array, visible surveillance array on the bottom, they're seeing them so much more often, and people are filming them more. Beings are filming them more. What do y'all think of that? Like, I see the main beings I see talking about it and saying what they think about it. I'm not going to call them crazy, but I will say that they just ascribe shit to it without really needing any sort of, like, corroborating evidence or details. You know, when you start talking about, like, reptilians and all this other shit, it's not to say that I don't believe those exist, because, to be honest, I think they're synonymous with some other shit that I see evidence of. Meaning archons. I'll just say it means archons. But you don't have any tangible corroborating evidence that these black helicopters are connected to reptilians, or that they're a part of Bluebeam. I heard somebody say that they were a part of Bluebeam and they're not actually there, or that it's HARP and that, you know, it's making you hallucinate them. Like, these are not... They're not good. They're not good examples of what you're trying to say, and it's not a good explanation, because, you know, you're saying that it's a mass hallucination that literally everyone who sees it, or who sees, like, the video, let's say, is hallucinating the same thing. So not just a hallucination in the moment, the hallucination is caught on digital, you know, film, and then anyone who sees that clip also hallucinates. That doesn't make any sense. And then the reptilian shit, you know, that's self-explanatory. You don't see a reptilian in the helicopter. You don't have any, like, data that connects those two phenomena or concepts. So I you know, I don't really accept those. But what do y'all think about that? What do you think about all of these? What do you think their purpose is? What do you think they're monitoring? What do you think they're monitoring for? Like, because my brain goes all over the place. You know, there's multiple narratives and scenarios that are thought to be at play right now. So it's like, what? Not just what, because that denotes one. Like, which of these narratives do you think those pertain to? And which of those things do you think actually are meant to affect you? And which things do you think are just meant to fuck with you? Like, you know, because what I believe is a lot of this shit is just meant to make you feel crazy, or meant to, like, make you scared, like, make you fear some shit. And I'm tired, bro. I don't give a fuck about none of that. I say that a lot in some of my videos, like, I don't give a fuck about that. But it's true. I don't. Fear has no place within me anymore. I don't give a fuck about death. I don't give a fuck about I won't say consequences, because there are some consequences that affect other people, or, shit like that. I'm not saying that I don't give a fuck about other people or anything like that. Just personally, me, there is no more fear. There may be responses to shit, like if you pop out behind me, I might turn around and swing, but that's not fear. That's automatic response. I'm talking about fear. I have been actively removing that from myself. And I put up something that said, get some fuck it in your system. And that's like a Cat Williams quote, I think. But I'm taking it and moving it in a different direction. Like, get some fuck it in your... Who gives a fuck, bro? Like, especially, I think it's easier for me because of what I do believe. I talk about what I don't believe a lot and give reasons for it, but the stuff I do believe, or I do see evidence of, or that resonates with me, makes it easier for me to not fear shit. Like, and the way that I choose to convey that is I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about the shit flying around up there, except for the shit that's dumping out chemicals. That's fucked up. But even then, I don't fear those chemicals. Like, they've been doing that, and I'm still not dead, and you still ain't dead, so who gives a fuck? Unless we're all gonna band together right now and do something about it, it doesn't serve you at all to be scared of that. Or, like, hyper focus on it and just obsess over the shit that's being dumped. Do what you can to safeguard yourself if that's what you want, but don't obsess over it. I feel like that's one of the purposes of it, is to make you fearful and obsessive, and to transmute your energy into some negative shit. Fear just doesn't, I don't, not only does it not really serve me, I don't give a fuck. I'm tired of this shit, I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of oh, what's gonna happen? I am actively, like, doing research and studying the past to understand the future, and studying the past to see if it's even real, because a lot of it didn't happen. It was written by, like, Francis Bacon and all kinds of shit. Like, I do want to understand, but it's not out of fear or self-preservation. Like, I was just thinking to myself when I was watching this breakdown of the Langoliers miniseries, like, I'm not fearful of a potential plasma apocalypse or apocalypse. I don't give a fuck about that. Dude was like, the Jay Dreamers dude was like, oh, I sell oxygen tanks, because part of the plasma apocalypse that he describes, which, I mean, I'll say, if you haven't seen, this theory, I don't know of another person who talks about this specific theory. The plasma apocalypse theory, the depressurization of an enclosed environment like a terrarium, with both physical and metaphysical, components. It's very well researched, and he has lots of, like, tangible evidence, explanations of all kinds of shit. It is one of the most, like, evidence-based theories I've ever seen. That's why I keep watching his shit, because he's not just saying shit and being like, oh, I channeled this. He actually has, like, shit that he's gone and researched, and can, like, line up things and be like, this is actually this. And the reason why you see these balls of light that people are starting to film, it's not just a phenomenon that comes from lightning. Those are plasma balls, and they have been seen in the past. Like, he breaks the shit down all the way, and it's very, very enlightening. And I like I said, there are physicists that try to talk about, end times, apocalypse, time, space, inconsistent, all that shit. This dude does a much better job than physicists do. Physicists rely on jargon and shit that you are not meant to understand to explain shit that they really just made up. They use math that is not the optimal, they're not the optimal systems of math. Regular people, regular beings are starting to disprove math. Just general, the concept of our math. They're starting to prove it wrong. This dude, breaks down all these things in ways that make physicists look dumb, to be honest with you. And it's not like they need much help. If you go listen to physicists give like lectures on podcasts, more specifically, because it's not written, they're being asked questions. A lot of them are old and relying on systems that have been disproven. They don't do follow up research. Like doctors are supposed to continue to learn. They're supposed to continue to update like computers, because the information is ever changing. So if you become a doctor in 1981 and then somebody asks you some shit about candida right now, you're gonna sound stupid if you haven't been keeping up with the advancements and the changes to that phenomena, to that sickness or illness or poison. I'll say. So if you have some time, or if you're a studier, if you're a researcher, and these things are important to you like they are to me, go check out Jay Dreamers on YouTube. Dreamers with a Z. And more specifically the plasma apocalypse shit. Anything where he's talking about that, I would kind of start off with one of the ones that seem like it's explaining what that means. And the more in depth, the better, because it's literally breaking down all aspects of a potential version of the apocalypse. And like I said, it's an explanation that seems to make the most sense overall to me, because it's not relying on fucking biblical, dogmatic, Abrahamic shit. It's using science. And not science in the way of like, oh, what's in textbooks, but just experience based science. Like, this is what people have seen. This is what causes that. And that makes the most sense to me. So I really, really support what dude's doing over there. I don't agree with everything he says. Like, he kind of ignored the explanation that the mini series Langoliers itself gave for what the entire movie was. But at the same time, the way he broke the shit down, I think they were talking about the plasma apocalypse and just gave a different, explanation for it. Maybe because they didn't want to, say that that's what they were talking about. That whole hidden hand occult shit. But I'm not going to call that a digression. All that all that mattered for what I'm trying to say. What do you think when you look up and you see all this shit happening above you, what do you think? Because when I talk about it or ask people questions, they seem like they get like upset or mad or annoyed. And to me, that's delusion. Like, you're so fearful of what I'm saying that you would rather ignore the shit or act like it's not happening, when we can both look up and I can show you the freshly sprayed line right above the house, or the 5 planes in the air spraying at the same time, or every time there's a flyover of a fucking helicopter, when 6 months ago there were no flyovers of helicopters. All these things that are being presented to you currently through social media, through the news, they're all, to me, fear promoters. And it's not to say that they're not based in anything. Some of them, I'm sure they are based in something. But depending on what you believe this realm is, that might have, less weight to you. Same reason I was saying I'm not really fearing shit anymore. Because, like, to me, I say simulation a lot, and that doesn't mean the fucking Matrix movie, but that's what I'm researching. That's a very, very dumbed down explanation of what I'm researching, is what is this place? And the other questions that I've asked multiple times in my videos, like, who are you? What makes your consciousness? Why are you in this avatar? Why do some serious people seem to remember being in other avatars? Like, all these things that kind of break away the reality that you've been given that you've been indoctrinated with, that you've been taught to believe in, and that you now defend vehemently. You will get angry if a person questions that sense of reality that has been given to you. You didn't come up with that on your own. You were taught that from childhood, right? Like, what is this place? What is this place? What are these feelings that we get sometimes? Like, what is it? Not deja vu. I just put up a video. Deja something. Deja Rive. Deja Rive. It's probably Deja Rive if it's French. One of my first videos was about that. I said deja vu because I wasn't well researched in that, but deja rive is dream based. It's not just having a feeling of being in a specific scenario or moment that you've experienced before. It's the specific feeling that you dreamed this scenario and then it happened. So precognition, which is, that happens to me a lot. And it's creepy. It's creepy. It feels weird. And especially if the moment is not a positive moment, it kind of sucks, you know? One of the ones that I talked about was I had a dream that I was in an enclosed room with a bunch of niggas wearing red scrubs. And then years later, it had to have been years later, I'm in jail waiting to go to prison on some shit that I'm not guilty of. And I don't just look around and see the red, scrubs. Everything that I feel, from the direction that I'm turning my head, things that are in my peripheral vision, my lower peripheral vision, all that shit is exact. It feels the same. It's not just the same. It feels the same. So what is that? Like, why do we have things like that in this experience, in this reality or realm that we're in? That's what I'm trying to figure out and study. And I'm taking in as many perspectives and explanations as I can. And I'm not going to rely on academia to come to a conclusion. I'm relying on corroboration, and I'm relying on, I'll call it intuitive scientific, evidence, tangible evidence. And so it matters what other beings are feeling and thinking when our perception of reality, our collective perception of reality, is so much different. Obviously, people are noticing it because I see lots of beings filming shit, and some of them add, their thoughts. Like, what the fuck is this? Direct energy weapons and all kinds of shit. Like, why? It's not to say that those things are real or fake, but why are they being promoted? Why are they being pushed at more people and beings and deities now? Like, why is that being promoted when it's just as easy algorithmically to hush that? If you control the algorithms, it's very easy to use speech recognition or keystroke logging or whatever. There's a bunch of different ways that you can quell that. You can silence that. You can make sure that very few people see that shit. But it's the opposite right now. It's being pushed. And anytime I see that, it makes me suspicious. Not to say that this shit's not real or that it is real, but why is it being permitted? Why is it being allowed to be released like that? All you gotta do is think back a couple years. Nigga, if I talked about UFOs, y'all niggas would call me crazy. Right? And if you go back a few more years, people would treat you like you were crazy. They wouldn't just call you crazy. You would lose a job potentially, or family members would stop talking to you or stop letting you babysit kids or whatever the fuck. Like, what? It's not to say that it's a negative reason that is causing these things to be more allowed, because a lot of beings believe that it's because this is a different age. The golden age is coming. And I'm not saying that that's not true. What I am saying, though, is that other aspects of this experience currently don't support that. There's more subjugation, there's more censoring, there's more, negative polarity shit happening. So why is it just specifically information and videos and articles and shit, which, by the way, are filtered and controlled by the same fuckheads that we view as the enemy? I don't believe in selective, cognizance. I don't believe in that. And I damn sure don't believe in cognitive dissonance. So these are the things that all this started from me saying I saw a video of a black helicopter. Like, these are the things that bust into my head when I see little shit. It just prompts things and thoughts and thought experiments and questions. And I don't feel like I see as many people going deeper into this shit. You might see a nigga with a clip pointing at the helicopter like, this is crazy, right? But then they don't really say too much. Or they say some weird, like, culty, dogmatic shit like, the Anunnaki are here, look what's happening. But there's no evidence of that. That's what you believe, so you're ascribing that to the video. And that's fine. But it's also fine for me to do this. For me to be like, let's really talk and try to come up with some shit that not just a small group of people are, without any evidence, ascribing to these events. Because if they happen to be wrong, not to say whether they are or aren't, if they happen to be wrong, nigga, I'm not finna be like, I'm not finna be on stuck because I was relying on a specific teacher or baba or, lecturer or physicist or anybody. Like, that goes for anybody. I'm not finna be stuck just because I put all the eggs in one basket. That's not how I'm that's not how I'm popping shit. It's just not gonna go that way for me. And it's a delicate balance because I said that I'm not fearing shit. So, I might prepare in certain ways for comfort, but I'm not finna go nuts trying to get all this shit and start digging a hole for a bunker with a regular shovel. And I'm not doing all that shit, Some of this is most likely just me, utilizing my energy, like waiting. Because essentially, like, there are some people that are taking the concept of the conscious observer very, very literally. And I believe I'm one of those people. I'm not just observing. Like, I have I have questions, nigga. I have comments. I have beliefs. I have the suspension of most beliefs, which I want to talk about next, actually. I'm not just observing. I am observing, but then I'm also, like, researching, studying, asking questions, and trying to make sense of the shit. Because for me, I can't just observe. That doesn't make sense for my consciousness. I don't think I was built that way or designed that way or whatever you want to call it. When I observe, it makes my brain do stuff. So I'm rolling with that. So yeah, I mean, and I'm not trying to, that question or it's not really, yeah, it is a question. That question of what do these things make you think? What do you think is happening? Why do you think these things are happening? Why are they being pushed at you in a higher frequency? Meaning, like, you see more of it when it's definitely possible to keep you from seeing it just as much as it used to be. I wanna start trying to have conversations about this shit, but it feels like many people are kind of going into hermit mode or discomfort. Maybe this shit's making y'all uncomfortable, which, I'm used to that. The beings in my life, I'm actively trying to not talk to them about this shit because it just makes them shut down or get aggressive more and more and more. Even when I'm not talking about this shit, they're aggressive toward me and trying to like, you know, I don't know. They want me to go back to like ignorance, I guess. I'm not finna do that though, so you got to figure that shit out. But yeah, with y'all, even if it's that, if that's what it is, if you're like, yeah, I just don't like thinking about that shit, it bums me out, tell me that. I'd like to hear that too. It just is interesting to me because I keep saying cognitive dissonance, but is it really that many people experiencing cognitive dissonance, or is that even different? I was about to say, or is it like fear, like you just don't want to acknowledge or pay attention to those things? But to me, that is kind of cognitive dissonance. So I guess if it is that, let me know, because I would like to know that too. Very little fucking transition. No transition. I spoke about the suspension of belief earlier, but I got kind of cut off. I had to jump off real quick because the little homie was coming home. That is also an interesting topic to me, the suspension of belief, because what I'm seeing a lot of is the opposite of that. I'm seeing a lot of people desperate to believe shit and like desperate to be able to explain shit. And so rather than using like more of a scientific mind, not any specific science, just a scientific mind, meaning wanting proof, wanting tangible evidence, wanting to see the results, a redundancy of or not a redundancy, but like a repetition of results, meaning to see the same results over and over again. The more that you see that, the more likely that is the common law or result. That doesn't mean that it's absolute. I don't really believe in absolutism, but it's kind of disturbing to me to see this many beings like just kind of grasp on to anything and not be suspicious or conscious or careful. Belief is a very powerful thing, and you can attach yourself to shit that's not healthy or that's not helpful or even dangerous. And I speak on like the formation of cults that I see a lot, but it's not just that. Like political shit, which you could argue that's a cult or you can't. Obviously religious shit. I don't know what to call this other one. Ways of moving forward, like ways of progressing. Like some people are becoming obsessive about doom prepping, like apocalypse prepping. That one is probably the least until it gets to a certain point. That one's probably like the least concerning to me, because at least you're doing something that makes you feel more comfortable in a tangible way. Like, because to me, all this shit ain't happening for no reason. So you do have reason to feel like you need to prep. I can't deny that. And I also can't deny that you have an enemy. We have a common enemy. And they are active as fuck, and they are ramping up. So those are all reasons to be doing what you're doing. If you're like a doom prepper or whatever, just if it gets to a certain point, I do feel like it's unhealthy. But I personally, I think suspension of belief is a really healthy thing to be taking on right now, because with all these narratives being thrown at you and all these like operations being done to fuck with your head or to make you scared of some shit or to make you hate the nigga in front of you or the beings that are in the next country over or across the ocean, like it just seems like beings are accepting shit too easily. Like they show you some scenarios having to do with Russia and Ukraine, and you instantly pick a side like you know anything for real. You don't know shit unless you know somebody from one or both of those places, and it should be both really. And even then, that's just two beings. So if you're in America especially, why the fuck are you putting so much energy into that, other than why y'all giving them all that money? Why you giving Ukraine all that money? That's the only thing that you, I won't say should, because even then, who gives a fuck? Who cares? You are, even if they stop doing that, they would still be taking the same amount of money from you, which is to me another indication of why we should just stop participating altogether. I understand that it would feel better to prepare and have a plan. Like, let's set up these barter systems. But you know that shit ain't finna work. That's going to take too long. You got to get all these people on board, and then you got to figure out how to set it up, and different little shit's going to pop up as you're setting it up. Like, let's just stop. Let's just stop and figure it out as we go. Because it's going to take them less time to lose their grip on society than it will us figuring out maybe a week of a little bit of like pandemonium, and then after that they're kind of toppled. To me, that's my thought on it. But just, it seems like beings are grasping at straws and very, very quickly like, oh, I need something to make me feel better or to feel more secure or safe. And I get it. I definitely get that. And I will say again that what I have come to not suspend belief on, what I've come to believe, does help me a great deal with not giving a fuck about most of that shit. When you get rid of the fear of like somebody coming to get you, or death, or whatever, it makes this a lot easier. And it's not, that's none of that means like I'm ready to die or I'm suicidal or anything like that, because I'm not. I got a kid. I want to be here for my kid. But I'm not finna give you my energy and be afraid all the fucking time, because obviously you're taking advantage of that. You're not even using real shit to make me fearful. You stage shit. You trump shit up. I don't like that. Not trump shit up. You make shit up. You punch stuff up to make it more than what it is. You fake stuff. Just all together rather than just staging, because staging can be, you can have some real stuff happen, like people can really die, things can really change, but that was your intention as the corporation, to fuck with people. I think that suspension of belief has really helped me, and that doesn't mean, what I mean by suspension of belief is not believing it instantly. I as soon as someone starts saying a narrative or like a hypothesis to me, the next thing I say back is, where's the proof at? Where are the examples? Where's the evidence? And if that can't be provided in a frequency that's believable, then I don't believe it. If I see a video on this social media shit and it's not believable, then I don't believe it. I'm going to be back.